Hello, Victor here. Got a new phone video for you called Coronavirus Theory. Um, Make sure you don't try to read the transcripts because they don't come out too well. They're kind of gibberish, okay? So, I'll start this off here because it's just a theory, but let's see. I am a male. I'm 71 years. I live in San Jose, California. I deliver auto parts to auto repair shops. Some of our customers are Asian, to include Chinese. Some of these auto shop owners go to China and other countries to visit their relatives at Christmas time. We have just learned that the coronavirus can be spread by breathing and talking. I think I may have contracted COVID-19 in late December 2019 or early January 2020. I have had many flus in my life, and I once had pneumonia when I was in my early 20s. Now, on a Thursday afternoon on January 9th, 2020, I was not feeling well. I had a loss of energy, a headache, and a fever. I went to one of our managers and said, "I do not feel well." He said, "You do not look well either. Go home." I thought at this place and time I was coming down with the flu. I then went to eat before going home. I also took one Aleve tablet with my usual vitamins for my headache. When I arrived home, things started to get worse. That night I developed chills, shakes, and a cough. I still had a fever and headache, so I took one more Aleve before I went to bed early. I went to bed early that night. I remember I was feeling cold, so I turned the heat up in my room. I also turned the heat up on my electric blanket to 7. I remembered from my past flus that they would end once I sweated it out. So I decided to make this flu end faster by heating my body up. Any well person would have been very uncomfortable and sweating with the heat that I was using. I was not, and I still felt chills. I then got the thought that this might be the super flu I'd heard about. I was coughing a lot more and it was stronger than before, but I had no phlegm. This was a dry cough. At the time I did not give it much thought, but I started to get the feeling this was not like any flu I had ever experienced before. I woke up a couple of times coughing with the same symptoms of the illness. That night I did not sweat, and in the morning I called in sick to work. My energy was very low, but the chills and shaking were gone. I then took 2 Aleves and then went back to bed. I could not eat that day, and I drank very little water. I was in bed until about 1 p.m. When I got up, I took 2 more Aleves. I still had a fever and a headache. I decided I hadn't heated my body up enough. So that night, I increased the heat in my room and my electric blanket to high. I took 2 more Aleves and went to bed. I was starting to feel the heat now. That Friday night, I sweated the next day and I felt better. Well, let's do that again. That Friday night, I sweated and the next day I felt better. I still had a little headache, so I took 2 Aleves. I was not well enough to go to work. I was still feeling a loss of energy. I was able to eat a little that day and drink some liquids with my vitamins, and I took 1 Aleve. That night I kept the heat up, but I did not sweat anymore. My symptoms were getting better, and I was now back on a regular diet, but I still felt a loss of energy. That loss of energy stayed with me for 1.5 weeks. I didn't go back to work until January 20th, 2020. I remember thinking that this was the fastest flu I'd ever experienced in my life. It was like an intense illness that came for 2 days and then was gone except for the loss of energy. Could I have had a lesser strain of this virus? I have since put together the pieces of this puzzle. I think I was asymptomatic around Christmas time. My symptoms started to show about 12 to 14 days later. I had all the classic symptoms of COVID-19, but it did not increase to a life-threatening situation. Why? Ever heard of nipping it in the bud? I think that's exactly what happened. First and foremost, I was not hydrated. I only drink about 1 quart of liquid a day, give or take an ounce or two, in the wintertime. If you are hydrated, you will give this virus what it needs to become stronger. A virus feeds on liquids. This is not the flu, so don't jump on the liquid trail. The whole idea is to kill this virus, starve it for water, and heat up your body like I did as soon as you feel sick. Not after you feel sick, but as soon as you feel sick. If you use a thermometer, keep your temperature below 104. If you haven't sweated it out in 2 nights, you need to get tested for COVID-19. Heating up your body for more than 2 days is not a good thing and could do more harm than good. If you find that you've tested positive, ask your doctor for the drugs that you can take. Tell him you are willing to try anything that has helped others. Do not allow this virus to fester inside of you and become stronger. We have many ways to combat this illness. However, there is a point of no return for everything in this universe. Do not let COVID-19 win. And stay well and well and healthy. I'm going to have more information on this coronavirus. I'll put out things you can do to, of course, keep from getting it is in the news pretty much. And I think the biggest thing to do, because this virus is gets airborne, and if you get those coughs and droplets, you won't get the small strain of it like I got. You're going to get the major strain, because if you walk where somebody sneezed or coughed, it stays in the air for about 30 minutes, they say. And this is the intense part of the virus in those droplets. So, it's like if you can't social distance, you need to have a mask on. And basically now, because everything's closed down here in California anyway, pretty much, except for the stores where you go buy things. So when you go in those stores, make sure you got a mask on. That's my advice anyway. So stay well, and I'll look for some more. I'm going to have some more videos on this about where I believe it came from and the real reason behind this virus. So, bye for now, and thanks for listening.